Welcome, Yasu, and hello, amigos of Pafos FC. I'm Amigo Darren, your host for another episode, and we're looking at the debrief of Olympiacos v Pafos FC from last night. What can I say? Totally unexpected sequence of events. We started off pretty well, actually. I was surprised at the setup of a 3-5-2 that Coach Caicedo had opted for away from home. So I was hopeful and things were going okay. We had a couple of early bookings in the first 5 or 6 minutes, I think it was. Turning points of the game. Before we get into the turning points, actually, there's something I've just remembered. I need to say a big shout out to Charlie Charlesworth. Thank you, Charlie. He actually noticed in my video that I'd slid in Panathinaikos about 5 or 6 times during the podcast, and he was the only one that mentioned it in the comments. So well done, Charlie. Cupcake coming your way, mate. Well done for noticing and pointing it out. Deliberate mistake by me. Anyway, going back to our debrief, let's have a look at key moments of the match, really. It's going to be the first half because that was when everything was happening. So we were talking about a few yellows that were handed out early doors. One of them being to Bruno Felipe of Pafos FC. I still see the tackle now and I think, what was he thinking of? I think I might have a picture in here. And it was bad enough to warrant a second yellow. I didn't hear anybody in the bar that I was drinking in Tala complaining that it was not a yellow card. It was a yellow card through and through. And he was off after something like 29, 32 minutes, certainly around the half-hour mark. And you could see in the bar that I was in, I looked around and everyone's faces were like, oh no, you were kidding. We were just starting the game and now we're down to 10 players. And here we go, 9 outfielders. So we knew we had it backs to the wall job. And I must admit, I'm sure I wasn't on my own in thinking, this is going to open the floodgates. We're in big trouble. How can we attack with 9 in a massive stadium like Olympiacos is? Anyway, so off he went. And then the game carried on. And David Luiz, playing at centre-back in the centre of the three, was an absolute rock again. Absolute rock. You can see the quality in him. And even everybody was talking about him at half-time, even though he looked like he'd done a hamstring or something or a ligament in one of his legs. But he got substituted off. And I think it was Peleus came on in his place. And so we knew our best player's gone off and we're a man down. What's going to happen now? Here we go. Nail-biting stuff, to say the least. And it just makes everybody drink faster. And the bar people make a fortune out of us. Anyway, I digress. Other things then to mention. Once David Luiz went off, our midfield, it was backs to the wall. Everybody was putting their shift in defence. Absolute lions of Pafos. Absolute lions. So what can I say? The second half started much the same as the end of the first, with us being under the cosh. Crosses coming in, absolutely raining down into the box. And Michael in goal saved everything. And another rock. I think it made the defence feel a bit happier and have a bit more confidence in their keeper, and not that they shouldn't have anyway, but yeah, it was pretty good. And obviously when the game had started, the Olympiacos fans were absolutely buzzing with excitement. You could feel it coming out of the TV, never mind being there. And they were obviously looking to flex their muscles and smash Pafos out of the park, bury them before they got going. But I think they took a big bite and they couldn't swallow it. It was as simple as that. So Pafos ended up parking the bus. The bus was well and truly parked, and Olympiacos just went from side to side, ran into the field, and just couldn't break them down. And you could see their forwards, they were getting more and more frustrated with the fact that they couldn't get the goal that they wanted to start the actual downfall, the collapse of Pafos. And the longer the game went on, the more and more the Pafos fans where I was drinking were starting to like, hey, maybe the lads can do this. Maybe they can pull this one out of the bag. I had people saying to me in the middle of the week around Pafos, saying Olympiacos would win 3-4-0 easy. Wasn't the case. This was not going to be a 3 or 4-0. I could see that halfway through the second half. The only thing that I was a bit gutted about was if they score in like the 89th, 91st minute, I will be so annoyed after all that hard work. But anyway, let's move on. So that was the key points in the game. The best players for us, I know he brought on Anderson. I think he took Dragomir off to replace him because he just run himself into the ground like he always does. And I think it was a case of Anderson coming on with fresh legs more than anything, just on the off chance we'd get a breakaway or whatever. But yeah, the midfield, we could have done better. I mean, with Bruno going off, that didn't help anything. It changed the whole game plan. But like the coach, Pafos coach, hats off. Credit where credit's due. Picked the right lads and picked the right formation to make it a massive stumbling block for Olympiacos. And they just couldn't get through. It was simple as that. There's not a lot more I can say about it, but I think that this Champions League is probably going to be an interesting one. I think we've got Bayern Munich next on the 30th of September, but we've got a few league games to run before then. So what I'm going to do is, before I sign off and say have a nice week, I'm going to let you know that I'm going to be doing a couple of interviews with people. One of them being Dino, the Gate 5 man, the leader of Gate 5, or the figurehead of Gate 5, should I say. He's agreed to have an interview. Unfortunately, he said, can he speak in Greek? Because his English was not very good. My Greek's not very good either, but we'll give it a go. So I think we'll get one of his mates to translate for us so that we know exactly what he's doing, and I can ask some more questions that, if any arise, of what he says. So that should be an interesting interview. Also, I'm going to be trying to sneak an interview in with the chappie who forgot to tell me his name, who runs the coffee shop down at Pafos Stadium. I've got some good photos of him anyway with the amigos, and hopefully that should be an interesting chat. So anyway, things are looking up, and just be mindful that Pafos have got a few games coming up soon, and I'm going to be going to watch them. So that's it for today's episode of Amigos of Pafos FC. Remember, folks, football, as in life, not every night can end with fireworks. Sometimes you do get a soggy sparkler. Okay, so join us next time, and hopefully it won't be scoreless. We'll see Pafos banging in some goals and cheering and bringing it home. Let's go. Pame Pafos!